instance. Every time.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, if you can't tell by the title, I am going to be going through all of my favourite brushes to use. Now these are like my ultimate faves, the ones that I have been constantly using for the past few months that I can 100% recommend to you guys. So yeah, I am excited. Let's go ahead and jump straight on into it. Okay, so the majority of these brushes are actually like either Morphe, Beautybay. I've got a couple of Sigma ones in here, but mainly Morphe I would have to say, and I've also got one ABH one. But yeah, these ones are like my ultimate faves. These are the ones that I would use on an everyday basis. A couple of them I've used today, that kind of thing. Okay, so the first one that I have, which is the biggest one, I'm going to start off with the face brushes first. Just to clarify, so these are the ones that I will use pretty much every single day. Yes, so the first one we have is the Morphe X Jaclyn Hill JH01 brush. This is a huge brush, like it's literally nearly as big as my head. Like, look how big it is, it's massive. But I love using this for like powder. So for instance, I would use it with my Revolution like pressed powder. I would use this brush with this just to like tap over areas of my face where I want it to be more set, more matte, that kind of thing. I love using this brush for that. I don't use it every day, but I do use it when I want more of a matte look and I want to have a matte look quick and I want to just press the powder all over. I do tend to use my loose powder with like a little beauty pad, so like this one, but when it comes to like pressed powders, I would use something like this, and I love it. It's so fluffy. It is amazing. It is quite big. It is quite big. So it might be too big to like do your forehead with, but I can do it with mine. I can do it around like the outsides of my face, that kind of thing. But yeah, love this brush. Love it for that. The next brush I have is also one that I would use for powder as well. This is a little bit smaller. And I would use this to maybe wipe away powder underneath the eyes and to use like a powder underneath the eyes if I needed more precision. So obviously this is quite a big brush. It's not going to get right underneath your eye area, whereas this one will. So this is the Morphe X Jaclyn Hill JH07 brush. You can purchase these brushes individually, guys, by the way, but you can also get them in a set. So yes, I've had this brush for ages. You can get similar brushes as well, but it just looks like this. It's really nice, really handy to get like right underneath your eyes, that kind of thing. So I would use it for powder. For instance, if I've been baking, I don't usually bake underneath my eyes, but I use like the loose powder. So if I have some like excess loose powder, I will use this to wipe it away. Or if I want to use a matte powder, like a pressed matte powder, I would use this brush to set underneath my eyes as well. I do also kind of go around my nose with this as well, because obviously again, this brush is too big to be able to get right in the crevice. So using a brush like this, it kind of like slots right in there, that kind of thing. So I use that for that a lot. And I also, if I'm also baking underneath my bronzer or like contour, which I don't usually do, but I would use this brush to like wipe it away, buff it in, that kind of thing. So I love this brush. I use this every single day, I'm not gonna lie. The next brush is a brush that I use to apply another powder. I know, how many powders am I using? And I use it to basically buff this into the skin. So this is the Revolution Pro Skin Finish powder in the shade Opalescent. So I'll usually literally just go in like this, tap off the excess, and then I'll like just go over the whole of my face. Now I love this brush for this personally because I just feel like it doesn't apply too much product. It is the perfect brush for just sweeping product on. Sorry, this is also the Morphe X Jaclyn Hill JH06 brush. So yeah, like I said, because it's so fluffy, it just distributes the product so lightly that it's like, you can tell it's there, but it's not overpowering as if you were to use more of a denser brush. It's just very fluffy. And I love it for applying that powder because it just puts it on all over the face. It's not too pigmented when you put it on. It just gives you that kind of light coverage, which I really like this brush for. So yeah, I use that every single day as well. I have seen people use this for like blush as well, so if you have quite a pigmented blush, you could use it for blush. Okay, moving on, we have the next brush. This is another Morphe X Jaclyn Hill brush. This is the JH02 brush. This is a perfect bronzer brush. I use this for bronzer. I love it. It just, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just proper easy to use. Like, you just take a little bit of bronzer. It's nice and fluffy, so it blends it beautifully into the skin. I find it easier for my forehead as well because it's quite a big brush for my forehead. It's like I just need to do that, and then I'm kind of like done with my bronzer. But I love it. It's so lovely. It doesn't shed. It's nice and soft. All these brushes are really nice and soft, which is what I love. And I just love this bronzer brush. I use this for bronzer every single day. So the next brush we have the Morphe R4 brush. I love this brush for contour because it's quite more like defined than the bronzer brush, if you can kind of see. It's going to distribute the product where you want it, but then it's also quite fluffy, so it's nice to just like be able to blend it out. I do sometimes use this brush as well for bronzer if I'm not wanting it to kind of go all over. If I'm wanting more of like a defined kind of bronzer, then I'll use this as well. But I love this for contour. I think it's amazing. I can also sometimes use this for blush as well because it's a nice little blush brush, but I prefer this for like contour, that kind of thing. Moving on to the next brush, we have the Morphe E4 brush. This is my perfect blusher brush. It's angled, so it's kind of like similar to the R4 brush. This is just a bit more like fluffier. It's quite a bit bigger than the R4 brush, if you can kind of see. But I just love this for packing on blush. I just think it's so easy. Like, as you can kind of see, like it fits on like my cheek perfectly. And I just like blend it up like that. Really nice. Again, really soft. Picks up the product nicely. It's not like so dense. Like, it's quite fluffy as well, so you can still like blend into the skin. I know that you could probably use this for bronzer as well, but for me personally, I just love using it for blush, and I use it every single day. Okay, the last brush for the face products, I have a highlighter brush. I've tried quite a few highlighter brushes and I just tend to come back to this one. It's quite an expensive brush, so yeah, you don't need it, but I just love it. Ever since I had it, like, I just love it. So this is the ABH A23 brush. As you can see, it's quite fluffy and mine has kind of lost its shape a little bit. However, it's still kind of like there. But I just love this for like applying highlighter, just buffing it into the skin. I kind of go like that as well. It's just really nice. Do it on the nose, cupid's bow, chin, that kind of thing. I just love it. I don't know. I think it's because it's so fluffy. It kind of like blends the product beautifully into the skin. Okay, moving on to the eyeshadow brushes now. Quite a few to go through, so we're just gonna jump straight on in. The first brush that I have and I love, I'm sorry this is dirty, but I used it today, so yeah, we have the Beautybay Perfect Blend brush. As you can see, mine is covered in concealer and primer. I basically use this to tap primer into my lids before I even start, so I'll use it every single day. I just apply a little bit of my primer, pat it on, blend it in, that kind of thing. I just love it because it's quite big as well. It covers all my lid, which is what I want, obviously, and it just disperses it beautifully. There's nothing else I can really say about this. It's quite big. It doesn't soak up too much product. I really like it. I really like it. I think with Beautybay brushes, I think you can get a few of them separately. However, the set, I did get this in a set. The sets are quite affordable anyway, and sometimes they go on sale, so just keep an eye out for that if you're looking for some Beautybay brushes. Really nice. Okay, so the first like eyeshadow actual brush I have, this is the Beautybay Throw Shade brush. You would have seen me use this in quite a few videos recently. I pretty much use this brush to pack on my first colour. So for instance, I didn't use it today, but the first colour that I go in with, I use this. So I use it to like press it onto the lid, almost give me like a shape of how I want my eyeshadow to be. So I'll pack the shade on with this brush and almost kind of like feather out the edges, not too much, but I'll feather out the edges around it because it's a little bit fluffy, but it is great for just packing on eyeshadows, that kind of thing. So yeah, I've been loving this. Again, this came in the same set as this one, the primer brush that I use. So yeah, you can get these two together. But I just love that. I love this brush for using it like that, for packing on shades, that kind of thing. I just find it really handy. Yes, yes. Also, if you have quite big lids like myself, I have quite a lot of space on my lids, you'll look like this as well. However, if you do have quite hooded lids, you might want a smaller brush to pack on shades with, but because my lids are quite big, I can get away with using a brush that's quite, it's not big, but it's a little bit bigger than what some people might like, if that kind of makes sense. But yeah, the next brush is actually a new brush that I've been using, and I've actually been loving it. Like, I can't even lie, I used it today. This is the Sigma E54 brush, medium sweeper. You could probably use this for shimmer. It's quite a dense brush. I used it to pack on this first, like, already purpley kind of shade on the inner corner. It's very dense, but it's not like sharp. It's still quite like a nice soft brush, but it just packs on the shade beautifully. It's more precise. I would say if you have hooded lids and you do the same technique that I do with eyeshadow and you pack on your shades first, you might like this because it is a more defined small brush, so you'll be able to get like right in there, pack it on where you want it, and then blend it out with a different brush. But yeah, I literally have been loving this brush. I just think it does the job how I want it to do. So yeah, very impressed. Moving on to the next two brushes. These two brushes are very similar, however I love using them the same way. I thought I'd give you the option of two because I don't know if one's going to be cheaper than the other, that kind of thing, but I do still love these brushes. There's a slight difference, but they're very similar. So the first one we have here is the Morphe M506. This is a very small blending brush. Mine's a little bit well loved, and it's also just lost its shape a little bit because of when I've been washing it, that kind of thing. But I love this brush. I used it today to like start to blend out the first shade that I packed on. So I'll use a brush like this just to start blending out the edges with the next shade, that kind of thing. It's very precise, so of course when you're using it, it's gonna blend out the product where you want it to go, that kind of thing. I really love it. It's nice and fluffy. It picks up the product beautifully and it distributes it really evenly. So yeah, I really love this one. And then the next one, which is basically, I use these two brushes for the same thing. They're very similar. This is the Morphe Xxact Inhaler JH40 brush. As you can see, this one's a little bit more like defined, but I don't know whether that's just because I've washed this one so many times. But as you can see, they're very similar. I use them for basically the same thing. So I use this one today to blend out the red. I use this one today to blend out the blue. But yeah, love these two. Highly recommend both of them. The next brush is a bit of a more fluffier brush. This is the Beautybay Cut Crease brush. I don't really know why it's called cut crease brush. I think some people like to cut their crease using a quite fluffy brush to get that, you know, like that not sharp cut crease, but more of like a just packing on a little bit of primer, so then the shimmer shades kind of like pop a little bit more, rather than not like cutting your crease at all, not putting any primer on, that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't use that technique for this brush. I use this to like blend out again even more shades. I blend it because it's quite a bit fluffy. I use this to blend out like my third shade, I would say, so like the more of a transition kind of shade. So I use this brush today obviously, and I used it for like this bright, like this greeny blue shade. So I like used it to blend this shade out. It's really nice. It's not too big either. It's just a nice size. It's like a little more fluffy, but it's not like huge. You know when you have them massive brushes, like for instance this brush, and it is just like so big. Like I would never use something like this now because it's so big. But if you're wanting something that's still quite fluffy and still gonna blend out your shadows, but is not like a massive blending brush, so you can still be more precise, and this one is a great one. Again, it does come in this set with these two, so if you did like the look of these brushes, you might as well just get the set, to be honest with you, because I think it's quite cheap anyway. Okay, the last blending brush that I have been loving and using, this is quite a bigger blending brush, but again, it's not as big as like the one that I just showed you. Like, it's still quite defined. I've been loving using this, so I use this to blend out around the edges. Sometimes I don't use a shadow with this, sometimes I just like to blend it out by itself, but sometimes I do use like a cream shade or something like that just to help it blend more into the skin, and I just love it. It's nice and fluffy. This is the, sorry, I'm really sorry. This is the Sigma E38 diffused creaser brush, by the way, guys. I'm really sorry I didn't mention that, but I love this brush. It just blends the shades out beautifully. But yeah, I just really like it for like blending out up top, making sure things are blended in seamlessly. Again, like I said, I sometimes don't use any product on it, and I just go around the outsides to make sure that it's blended into the skin a little bit more, or sometimes I do use like a creamy shade, that kind of thing, to make sure it is blended into the skin properly. Sometimes the shades that you use are quite dark. I'm obviously quite pale, so I like to be able to use like a cream shade with this kind of brush to just like blend it into the skin a little bit more. So that is what I use this brush for. I've really been loving it as well. Really nice and soft. Okay, moving on to the last two brushes. We've got two brushes left, guys. Two brushes left. So I've been loving, again, sorry this is dirty, I've been loving using the Morphe R42 brush. I use this brush to pack on shimmer shades, as you can kind of see. I just love it. Again, you could probably use something like this to cut your crease if you wanted. However, this is my shadow brush. I trust this brush. This brush applies shades. Sometimes it's difficult to apply some shimmer shades because sometimes they don't pack on the lid as well as other brushes, that kind of thing, but I love this one. I feel like this is like my trusty brush because the majority of shimmer shades pack on beautifully with this brush. Trust me. Trust me. Okay, moving on to the last brush. This is the brush that I use to apply my inner corner shades, my brow bone shade, highlight shade, that kind of thing. And this is the Morphe X Jaclyn Hill JH39 brush. It's a really nice defined pencil brush. I just feel like it sits beautifully on the inner corner, gets that shimmer shade right in there. I love it. And again, beautiful to like blend into the brow bone, that kind of thing. Really like it. You could probably use this for like matte shades as well, you know, if like you're wanting to really add more definition when you're packing on like your matte shades, like what I do with my first brushes. But I use this for highlighter mainly, and I really like it. Just really nice and fluffy. Feels nice. It's not sharp at all. Just, yeah, I just really like it. So guys, that is it for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed looking through my favourite brushes. I didn't want to pick too many to like overwhelm you guys, but I just wanted to go through the ones that I love and the ones that I actually highly recommend that you guys pick up, because these are the ones that I love using, and yes, I think they're all really nice. They're all quite affordable as well because they're Morphe or Beautybay. Again, I got a couple of Sigma ones in there, and obviously the ABH highlighter brush is very expensive. But the majority of the brushes that I have are quite affordable. So yes, I really hope you enjoyed today's video, guys. If you did, please remember to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as it would really help me out. As always, I'll be linking my social media handles up above and also in the description box down below. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!